What is brainwashed about the book argues that Black Americans have been subjected to a long and deeply systemic propaganda campaign that frames Black people as inferior to white people. This campaign, according to Burrell, started during slavery and has been perpetuated through media, advertising, culture, and institutional messages. Rather than being about overt racism alone, the book is about psychological and social programming, the internalization of negative stereotypes, and the acceptance by many of a subordinate identity. Burrell contends that this brainwashing, the BI complex, as he calls it, continues to shape behaviors, values, self image, and life choices in profound ways, often to the disadvantage of Black individuals and communities. In short, brainwashed is a call to recognize and resist the internalized racism fostered by centuries of systemic messaging and to reclaim Black identity, dignity, and self worth. Key themes and arguments: the power of propaganda and media representation. Burrell traces myths of Black inferiority back to slavery when dehumanizing portrayals of Africans justified enslavement. He shows how those portrayals evolved into stereotypical images in literature, film, advertising, and news, effectively normalizing racism and embedding it into collective consciousness. Because these messages are repeated over generations, they influence not only how others see Black people, but how Black people see themselves, undermining self esteem, shaping aspirations, identity, and behaviors. Internalized racism, self perception, and inferiority complex. A major focus is what happens when stereotypes are internalized: self hate, low self worth, acceptance of mediocrity, or limiting beliefs about potential; colorism, preference for lighter skin, negative self image regarding beauty standards, and the rejection of African cultural identity are examined as part of the psychological fallout. Social and structural consequences: family, health, community, behavior. The book doesn't just explore individual psychology, it also looks at how ingrained inferiority affects communities. For example, unstable family structures, higher rates of single parent households, cycles of abuse or neglect, and breakdowns in communal solidarity. Health disparities, internalized negativity, and structural inequality can lead to neglect of physical, mental, and spiritual well being. The book links this to broader issues like lack of access to health care, poor nutrition, and societal marginalization. Cultural identity, self esteem, and deprogramming. Burrell proposes that the solution begins with self awareness, recognizing how propaganda and these stereotypes have shaped beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. Then individuals and communities can begin to reclaim their dignity, history, and identity. He advocates for a shift from victim mentality to empowerment, redefining success, beauty, worth, on terms rooted in Black culture, heritage, and self respect rather than those imposed by a historically racist society. Education, positive representation in media, honest dialogue about history, and community solidarity are presented as tools for this transformation. Structure and style. The book is organized around chapters that address different facets of the brainwashing, from how stereotypes affect beauty standards, sexuality, relationships, to issues like self destructive behavior, family breakdown, health neglect, and consumer mentality. Burrell draws from history, slavery, segregation, post civil rights era, cultural critique, media analysis, personal anecdotes, and social statistics, making the book part memoir, part social research, part cultural call to action. Rather than being accusatory or purely academic, the tone is meant to challenge gently but firmly. to provoke self-reflection and social responsibility among readers. Why the book matters, its impact and purpose. It forces a confrontation with long-lasting but often invisible psychological damage caused by systemic racism and cultural propaganda, not just institutional racism, but internalized oppression. It offers a framework for individual and collective healing. By reclaiming identity, redefining self-worth, and rejecting negative stereotypes, it contributes to the broader conversation about race, identity, media representation, and how historical injustices continue to manifest in modern social dynamics. It empowers readers, especially Black readers, but also allies, to ask critical questions. Where did these beliefs come from? Who benefits from them? How can they be unlearned?